Welcome to Weird Mob Media. I'm Jake, and you're stuck with me again for this film analysis. No decade screamed occult like the 1970s. The Exorcist was nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards, and Chariots of the Gods, based on Erich von Daniken's novel of the same name, convinced many of the existence of ancient astronauts. Anton LaVey was thriving with his Church of Satan, and the Lutz family were garnering mainstream attention with their residence at 108 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, infamous for its horror. At the time, when distrust of government authority was only solidifying, people began considering the possibility that certain truths about this world, and beyond, may have been suppressed by Big Brother. The word occult stems from the Latin occultus, meaning secret, hidden, or unknown. Another seminal work that helped bring this concept of the clandestine into the mainstream was Colin Wilson's 1971 book, The Occult, A History, a scholarly, philosophical, and grounded perspective on the subject. A central idea suggested by Wilson is that our five senses keep us grounded in ordinary reality. Beyond these lies a sixth sense.
There is a fifth dimension,
known as Faculty X, which allows the human mind to access latent potential, a state that can be approached by transcending the limitations of the base five senses. And thus, we segue into today's 1978 Australian thriller,
a chilling investigation beyond the five known senses.
Patrick is about a comatose patient. No points if you can guess his name. Confined to a hospital bed. Despite his paralysis, which requires he have 24-hour care from the facility's doctors and nurses, Patrick, played by Robert Thompson, possesses a remarkable sixth sense.
It's called psychokinesis.
At the centre of the bedridden Patrick's care is a recently hired nurse, Kathy Jacquard, played by British actress Susan Penhaligon, who was cast in part due to her previous roles in the provocative television miniseries Bouquet of Barbed Wire, and the less sexier The Land That Time Forgot. Kathy is going through a divorce from her husband Ed, played by Rob Mulliner, and is having a fling with Dr. Brian Wright.
He has a wife, you know.
Played by Bruce Barry. These personal issues follow her to work, as Patrick, with his all-seeing mind's eye, grows increasingly jealous due to his possessive infatuation with her. In her work life, Kathy is undermined by Dr. Roger, played by Robert Helpman, the child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and Matron Cassidy, played by Julia Blake, whose previous credits included TV's Bellbird and Bruce Beresford's The Getting of Wisdom. As Kathy attempts to inform her superiors of Patrick's extraordinary powers, they refuse to entertain the notion.
He spits.
The story devotes a significant amount of time to Kathy's love life.
So much for women's fantasies.
These prurient observations of the sexual aspects of the lead character's experiences feel more in line with director Richard Franklin's earlier sex romp, Phantasm.
You can feel that, can't you? When you have a moment, sister.
That being said, Franklin was a protege of filmmaker Alfred Hitchcock. On the set of his film Topaz, Hitchcock invited the aspiring Australian director to shadow him. So despite the lasciviously distracted scenes, Patrick feels more Hitchcockian in nature. Its success lies in the fact that it not only follows a similar formula,
Patrick is a rip-off of Psycho,
but also acts as a continuation of Hitchcockian suspense and tension. The supernatural elements of the story act as a descendant, as Hitchcock never directed a feature film focused on the occult, allowing Patrick to deliver bigger thrills and greater moments of suspense. This is not to undermine Hitchcock's classic filmography, but rather to highlight the film's skill in emulating the late director's formula. It was the success of this film and his follow-up, 1981's Road Games, that led Universal to hire Franklin to direct Psycho 2.
It led directly to me being hired as the director of Psycho 2.
Now, Psycho 2, I actually believe, was a really terrific film. Not that it was ever going to surpass the original, but for what it was, I think Franklin did a really good job with it. If you're enjoying the video, please give it a like, and if you'd like to see more content like this, consider subscribing. It really helps the channel out. Thank you. As random as this may seem, one aspect of production I'd like to highlight is the film's Italian distribution, because I never seem to see anyone else talk about this particular aspect. Brian May, no, not that Brian May, who composed the music for films such as Mad Max, Road Games, and most unexpectedly, Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare.
Lend me your ear.
Was responsible for the orchestral score on this film. Given that Patrick leans into the spirit of Hitchcock, it makes sense that the original score would echo the style of Hitchcock's longtime collaborator, Bernard Herrmann, with whom Hitchcock worked with on Psycho, North by Northwest, and Vertigo. In Italy, the film industry was producing a surge of horror and thriller films with a distinct style. Giallo, the Italian word for yellow, was a subgenre of Italian filmmaking, usually of a psychological horror or thriller nature, named after the yellow covers of 1930s paperback novels. While the Australian film industry was focusing on creating nationalistic pride films, such as Ned Kelly, starring Mick Jagger, because when you think of Australia, you think of the Rolling Stones, Picnic at Hanging Rock, and Sunday Too Far Away, Italy was specialising in genre filmmaking. Many people would point to Ennio Morricone and Nino Rota as Italy's most famous film composers. However, within this niche of Italian genre filmmaking, there is only one group that encapsulated the eerie suspense of macabre harmony: the rock band Goblin, who wrote and performed scores for films such as Suspiria, Dawn of the Dead, and... Patrick? Hang on. How could Patrick have been composed by both Brian May and Goblin?
It's not as crazy as it sounds.
The Italian distributors of Patrick weren't interested in the Hitchcockian angle. Their audiences were more accustomed to the giallo style of native Italian genre films, so they hired Goblin to compose the music for the Italian cut of the film. Brian May's orchestral composition is classic and definitely contributes to the film's overall suspenseful nature. However, I would have loved to have seen a cut of Patrick with Goblin providing the music. I've heard their score for Patrick online, but actually seeing it interpolated into the edit itself would be an entirely new experience.
This is going to be an entirely new experience.
Patrick is a masterclass in filmmaking. On the surface, it may appear like any other exploitation film at the time, using the occult to cash in, yet it tells an occult story like no other. Everett de Roche's screenplay is a well-crafted, suspenseful tale that Richard Franklin and the entire crew translate effectively to the big screen. During the 1970s, Hitchcock directed only 2 more films, Frenzy and Family Plot, before his death in 1980. I'm generally curious how the master would have reacted to his protege's film upon first viewing it, assuming he did, in fact, watch it. Would he have been proud to have taken the enthusiastic Franklin on the set of Topaz, only for it to result in Patrick and Road Games? Or would he have seen the opening murders Patrick commits on his mother and her boyfriend as too close to his film Psycho? We're Weird Mob Media. I'm Jake. Thanks again for sticking with me if you've made it this far. Have a good day.